Hello, this is Dr. Stanley Lang. Welcome to this broadcast, which is on the subject of strength exercises and aging. And the reason I wanted to share on this subject today was because of two patients that I saw yesterday, or one yesterday to one today, that are very instructive about what can happen if you don't pay attention to this issue and you're getting older. And when should you start to pay attention to this issue, and when does getting older start? Well, the average person loses about 7 pounds of muscle between age 40 and 50, and the average person loses about 10 pounds of muscle between age 50 and 60. So it depends on whether you want to be preventive or playing catch up as far as when you consider yourself aging and doing something about it. But the two patients that I'm going to talk about are well past 60. The first patient is somebody that is I saw is 79 years old, but very functional, and still walks 30 minutes a day, but is having symptoms that are being attributed to the sciatic nerve being irritated. And this is the first time that I'd seen this patient. So when I examined this particular patient, one thing that I noticed was that she had lost almost all of her gluteal muscles. Now, she was pretty thin to start with. For a lot of women, losing the gluteal muscles is sort of disguised because that's a place where women tend to store fat in the buttocks. But because she was so thin, it was really obvious that she didn't have any significant gluteal strength left. And the one place that she was hurting was her sacroiliac area. And she was hurting quite a bit there. And one of the things that I pointed out to her was that while she's doing really well for her age in terms of activity and the way she's eating and all that stuff, she's really lost a big percentage of her skeletal muscle mass, especially the part of the muscles that we call the core strength muscles. Now, the glutes are a very important part of the core because they stabilize the sacroiliac area and the low back. So if you've got weak gluteal muscles, which most people do because about all they do is sit on them, then eventually you're going to have a destabilized sacroiliac area and low back. And what happens then to compensate is that your hamstring muscles tighten up to try to stabilize you. And that creates some other problems then. So tight hamstrings cause their own set of symptoms, which I won't get into, but they also predispose to injuries when you do try to exercise. So there's a whole ripple effect that happens when you start to lose skeletal muscle strength. And I explained to her that the most important thing for her in terms of being healthier and more active going forward was that she needed to have a very good strength program. In her case, I told her I thought she was too tight in her low back to jump into a home strength program that wasn't supervised. So I recommended physical therapy because of wanting to make sure that it was safe for her to do something that was unsupervised at home. The second person is not nearly that old, is in his upper 60s, but is somebody that has, for a variety of reasons, lost almost all of his quad strength, and so his balance is not very good. He walks with support, and I attempted to teach him one of my basic simple strength exercises at home, and he went on his way, came back, and had developed some other pains because of doing those exercises. Well, it turned out that he was pushing himself harder than I recommended. There's a precise way of doing quad strengthening at home when you don't have a trainer who can help you. And he was basically pushing himself too hard, and he was starting to activate his IT bands, and that's what was causing his legs to hurt more. He still needs to do the quad strengthening. It's really critical for him, as do all of us, but he needs to back off a lot and work his body a lot less than what he's doing, and that was a big part of what we talked about on this visit. So the point of both of these patients is that they're exhibiting what I see very, very commonly, and that as people age, they lose skeletal muscle and they develop a variety of different symptoms that can be fixed. Fortunately, if you can still walk, you can build muscle. If you can, and if you're willing to do a simple strength program several days a week, usually at least 3 or 4, you can rebuild the core muscles, which are the most critical muscles to build. You don't need to have big, strong biceps and big, strong triceps. You need to have a strong core, and that's what I instructed both of these patients on. Now, for a lot of people, they don't have the ability to go to a gym and have a trainer work with them, and they wouldn't know what exercises to do when they went to the gym if they didn't have a trainer working with them. And for a lot of people, the folks that are hanging out at a gym to help instruct a person on a strength program, they're relatively young, they're in very good shape usually, and they can't relate at all to people that are completely deconditioned, and the alternate pace that person should progress at if they want to be safe and not injure themselves and trying to get stronger again. So what we did was created what we call the simple home strength program to teach people how to do 5 basic core strength exercises. The difference between this and most YouTube videos is that we go into extreme detail on how to do each exercise exactly right. So we anticipate all of the questions that might be there that you might have, or at least we think we anticipated all the questions. But if you do this simple program, 3 days a week, 5 key exercises, you will get a whole lot stronger, and your core will get strong enough to keep you healthy the rest of your life as far as your strength. Now, there's a lot of other exercises you can layer on top of this. I'm not trying to say that this is the end all and be all, but it covers the bases of core strength program, and it doesn't require any equipment. So if you want to do something that involves building up your strength again, or you want to do something at home that's simple, that heads off at the pass, this loss of muscle that starts in your 40s, accelerates in your 50s, becomes even faster in your 60s. If you want to do something about that, this is a simple strategy, and I encourage you to click on the link and get the program. The process is laid out so that you can progress at a very appropriate pace for where you're at. It assumes you're a starter, a beginner, so you're not we assume that you don't have much strength when you're starting the program, but it will challenge you to develop a lot of strength if you want to. Now, you could find all this stuff on YouTube, but what you're going to find is a bunch of confusing information and contrary and conflicting ideas, and in most cases, the form isn't done right. And so we're very particular about how the form is done so that you avoid or at least minimize the risk of injury. So if you're interested in that program, click on the link. If you want to put something together, that's fine too. If you want to go to a gym and build your core up, that's fine too. The key point is do something to build your strength. It's critical, especially as you're getting older. In fact, we know for sure that strength is even more important than cardiovascular exercise as you get older, and cardiovascular exercise is critical. So I wish you well, God bless, and have a great day.